What's up, everyone? This is Dan from the Rebellious Noise podcast. That's right, guys. We have rebranded. So, we are here to discuss all things WWE Hell in a Cell 2020. I'm joined as ever by Scott, Rob, and Lucas. Now, just in case my brain gets a bit frazzled, I'm actually going to go and look at the card now because I literally can't remember. There's so many matches been announced for this, I can't remember the actual card for it. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through the order that WWE have got them listed on their website, and we are going to kick off with the Universal Championship I Quit match, which is inside Hell in a Cell, featuring the Universal Champion Roman Reigns taking on his cousin Jey Uso.
Yes.
And breathe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it just because the last match was really entertaining, as I'm sure you'll remember. I like the fact it's in the cell. And I don't know, I think I like the fact that they're doing an I Quit with it. But yeah, as far as prediction goes, I mean, surely Roman Reigns is keeping the title. I can't see it going anywhere. I know, like we were saying in the last match, there was that little bit of glimmer of hope that they kind of brought us on that journey. And even though we all knew it weren't going to happen, they even nearly fooled us. And we allowed ourselves to believe that. I think there's probably going to be a bit more of that, but I really can't see it going any further. So, yeah, surely Roman Reigns prediction.
A Roman Reigns win.
That's it.
Became Jonathan Ross there, saying, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Scott. I think, yeah, Reigns ain't losing this anytime soon. I think it's interesting now adding a stipulation to a stipulation match. We don't see a lot of I Quit matches take place in WWE. Like this, it's something they don't do many of, and it is something which fits the story quite well and quite nicely. So it's nice that, even though on a gimmicked pay-per-view, we're still kind of getting a natural story progressing into it. Whereas sometimes it is just a bit like, well, it's October now, so it's got to be in a cell. But they found a reason for it to exist. I think, obviously, Heyman being there, he might play a little part. And I mean, I feel that Jimmy will definitely get involved or do something, because he came out at the end of their match last month. And so I think he will probably get involved somehow. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. But yeah, Roman Reigns is not losing this match. Yeah, that's my prediction.
No, it's cash in now.
No, still no cash in. Not yet, but one day.
Don't say nothing, Rob. I've put you down for Uso. It's fine.
Do you know what? As much as I would love to see it happen, Roman's winning. You know, there's no way about it. I love. Tell you what, I love everything about this storytelling. The way it's been done. You know, the fact that Roman has no remorse as well is really just starting to grow on me, and I'm starting to feel bad for everyone that he has to face after this. You know, especially the way he's been turned. You know, and been booked as this monstrous heel, especially with him and Heyman. It's lovely. So yeah, as much as I'd love it, you know, full well Roman's getting the win.
Yeah, I think, like, basically going back on what you guys said, I mean, you're saying about the whole, like, how it all worked really well and stuff. Apparently it was only meant to be like a one and done thing, and it just got that much traction online, and everyone seems to love it. And I think they just, because they've got that connection, it's felt they work so well together. My prediction, obviously the same as you guys, is going to obviously be Roman Reigns. Surprise there. But yeah, just think the whole concept of having the I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell is actually a pretty good thing, because like the cell itself can be, well, as they always like to say, it's like a brutal structure and all that stuff. And it, in theory, it makes a lot of sense having an I Quit match, because it's like they say there's no way out of the cell pretty much, but we've seen it happen a lot more, like in recent times. People can get out quite easily and stuff, but you know, the fact that Roman can just like destroy him as much as he wants, and going on SmackDown, like what he did with Strowman, and using the guillotine as his new like submission finish.
Yeah, that was a shocker, wasn't it?
But I think it worked really well. The fact that obviously it's a bigger guy and he's doing that, and I think locking that in on a smaller guy will look just so much more brutal.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I think Lucas mentioned about Jimmy possibly coming in, but apparently he's not yet medically cleared still, so that's why he wasn't like involved in the draft. They still reckon November to January time he should be ready, but who knows? So yeah, I just think for all of us a clean sweep there for Roman, I think.
I was going to say as well, like the whole I quit inside the cell, it reminds me of, like in the games where you could change like the way the match would end, and then you could choose you can change all different kind of levels of a match type. It kind of feels like that, but like you said, Dan, like it makes sense to have an I quit match inside the cell because it is one of those rare match types that it's not really defined about, isn't really defined by the way you win. Like a ladder match, you can only, in a cage match, I prefer the escape. I hate pinning in cage. That drives me mad. But, things like a casket match, an ambulance match, a ladder match, like it's all about the way you win, whereas the cell is more about, like you said, stopping people getting in and out in theory, so with that means they can change it. And another one, probably even the Elimination Chamber, other than the fact they're in pods and they come out at different times, even with that, you could finish that in a different way if you wanted to. So I like the fact they are doing a cell and mixing the two together because, they could do an I quit on their own, and not have too many cell matches or whatever. But then it's like, if it's there, it kind of makes sense, So like if you're going to, because you're going to see so much like just people getting back, we all know what happens, thrown into the cell and all that. There's so many places you can take this stipulation. So I'm really looking forward to that. But surely a Roman Reigns win.
I think it's just one of those things though, at the moment. So they've only announced 3 matches at the moment. They're all inside Hell in a Cell. It's like, are they going to do the entire like, because they've not announced anything else, is it going to be every match that gets announced? They're just going to leave the cell and think like, it's like, you know what, we're paying enough for this Thunderdome. We ain't going to keep like raising up and down a cell. It's like the only thing is they could even just like swerve everyone, just literally have 3 matches on the show and have them all go like 45 minutes to an hour. And, that's another possibility. But, someone who's no stranger to having long matches on pay-per-views, much to some people's annoyance, is the challenger in the next match, which is for the WWE Championship. And that match features Drew McIntyre, who is the WWE Champion, defending against Randy Orton. So, Randy Orton, is he going to finally beat Drew on pay-per-view, having defeated him on Raw? Was it a tag match? Beat him?
Yeah, it was a tag team match.
Yeah, and he pinned Drew.
I'm not sure now because they've messed it up with obviously Drew getting 2 victories and having this match so close to an ambulance match, which I felt, and I think we even discussed it last month, wasn't that kind of a definitive kind of ending point for a rivalry. Like, you've beaten someone so bad, you've sent them to the hospital. I'm sorry, it's the medical facility.
Be careful now, mate.
Shouldn't that have been the end? But obviously they added Keith Lee for that weird little couple of week period, to this. And obviously now Keith Lee's moved on to Braun. I can't tell what they're going to do. And it's not even in a good way, like, because like with some stuff, you can be a bit like, okay, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm happy either way. But with this, it's like, I think the draft doesn't help them either here, because there's such a gap still between Raw's kind of top talent, being Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, basically, and then the rest. They have got AJ over there, so I'm guessing the logical choice would, if Drew was to win, would be to have a Drew versus AJ next. And I guess they could also turn AJ back to face, and then Orton could win and have Orton AJ, which I think would be very good. I'm going to stick to my gut. I said Orton 2 times in a row, so I'm not going to change it now. Randy Orton's winning finally, third time lucky. If Randy Orton loses though, then I think Drew is definitely seen as the guy now. There is now definitive proof. I think already there is the proof already, but I think this will kind of just be the last kind of icing on the cake. Randy Orton has not lost 3 times on pay-per-view in his entire history in the company. He's not lost twice on a pay-per-view in a row in about 5-6 years now. So for him to put someone over 3 times in a row, you know, a man who, let's face it, he could do what he does, and well, forever potentially. He said another 10 years, he reckons. You know, he doesn't have to do this. He could just be all right, just getting a US title reign here and there, and popping up in random tag matches and popping up at Saudi shows and stuff. But he's in this program. But yeah, I think Randy Orton. After that, Randy Orton.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, we've said it countless times on these predictions that at some point Drew needs to drop it, because I feel like there's only a certain amount of time you can be a champion before. Not that you get stale, but someone like Drew will slowly start to fall down with his next feud, whoever it'll be. If it's AJ, maybe it'd be great. As Lucas said, AJ versus Orton, you know, and just keep Drew around the title. You know, you can be the third man and kind of dip in, dip out. He can take a break from it and then still come back, get his second title victory, and have a second reign and be even better than this one. But he's had it since Mania. The feud with Randy's gone on a bit too long now. So either if Randy doesn't win, the rivalry needs to end. If Randy does win, I'm happy to see one more with a stipulation. If you don't win, that's it. You don't get a chance to compete until I've lost it. Something like that, because there's only so much more you can do before it becomes another Randy Orton John Cena feud, and we don't need another one of them, like for either guy. But yeah, I'm going Randy for a win.
Yeah, I'd say I kind of flip-flopping a lot there between what I thought as you guys were talking, because it does feel like they've pushed Drew better than I thought they would. You know, he's looked incredibly strong. And just, you know, watching recent Raws, he just looks like there's no slowing down. You know, like they've done wonders with him, and which then kind of makes me think, oh, then maybe that's it. Then they've done enough now. You know, the rocket has kind of reached its limit, and he needs to kind of like move on to something else. Because obviously we spoke about it so many times on here about like distant. Long-term booking, basically, because of not knowing when audiences were going to be there and stuff like that. And it feels like with a lot of these storylines that they have just been going month by month. It hasn't been your tradition. It's kind of been strange predicting them, because it's not. We try and look at it as like the usual kind of like they usually go 2 or 3 pay-per-views with a feud, but so much of it, like you say, like Rob, this one's gone on for ages. You know, you think about the Mysterio Rollins one. I think they're just literally getting to the next pay-per-view and then maybe we'll do it again, sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to predict in that sense. But yeah, at the same time, there is just that big side of me part of me saying like, Randy can't lose it again. It kind of makes him look a bit, you know, silly, and Drew's been built enough. It's okay for him to lose it now. It would have been okay last month, the month before, even though I would have preferred him to keep it. Now I'm all right, and that's just because like, where else does he go other than AJ? Like, AJ does seem the only logical kind of conclusion. But then at the same time, if AJ goes to either, I think him and McIntyre makes more sense, keeping him AJ as a heel. I can see that more with AJ than him turning face and facing Orton. But then again, you'd probably get another McIntyre match, like Rob was saying, like him trying to get it back. And in that time, AJ could have turned face in that month period. So maybe it'll go that way. But yeah, I've just got a weird feeling that this is the time for Randy Orton to do it. So I'm going Randy Orton as well.
Okay, so you guys are all going for Orton. I'm going to be the odd one out. I'm going for Drew McIntyre to keep the championship.
Is this your heart or your tactical prediction to get up the table?
It's a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, a little bit of both, really. Because, I mean, the way that I'm looking at it is, so Drew is obviously going in as like the big baby face at the moment. So the way I'm looking at it is, we've got to think, the guys that have come over from SmackDown, your likes of AJ Styles, your Braun Strowmans, you know, those kind of people, even to a degree you could say Sheamus as well, The Miz, they're all like heels that could easily go into different title matches along with Drew. Whereas when you look at babyface wise, it's like with Randy Orton, you got Jeff Hardy. Orton's faced Jeff numerous times. Matt Riddle, I don't feel like is ready for a title shot just yet. There was talk before about Andrade, but they don't seem too hot on him at the moment. The only other feud that I could really see if Orton does win is Orton versus Fiend, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do that yet, and that's partly why I feel like it's going to be Drew McIntyre to win it. I just feel like there's more going forward for Drew as a babyface with heels chasing him rather than the other way round. So that's where I'm looking at it from like the logical point of view. The whole thing about obviously Randy Orton losing 3 times in a row, that's the only part of my head that's thinking, yeah, they could do the change now. But I don't think they're going to. I feel like Drew's done enough to prove himself as like the guy in WWE at the moment that they're just going to be like, well, you know what, you've proved yourself, just carry on, just, you know, take the title. It's like, I've got to say, even if he does lose 3 matches in a row, it's not going to affect Randy Orton. He's always going to be that bigger star. You know, you think if it was somebody else that went and lost 3 matches in a row, we'd be like, oh, that's their pushover. Whereas Randy Orton, if anyone else wins the title, Orton could just go back into the title picture like that, and no one will bat an eyelid, pretty much. So that's the way I'm looking at it, and I'm sticking my neck on the line, being the odd one out, and going for Drew McIntyre.
Thing is, him speak. I see what you mean, Scott. Like him speaking now, it's swayed me a little bit, but I'm going to stick with Orton. But I think it's key here where we're talking about. You know, what were the long-term plans? Because obviously, you know, around Mania time, it was that Drew and Lesnar were going up for a rematch at SummerSlam, and that Orton and Edge would too. So, you know, we could have been in a situation very different now, where Orton, if he was to be a challenger after facing Edge a second time in the greatest wrestling match ever at SummerSlam, he could have obviously been having a first-time challenge now, or he could not be in the title picture at all. You know, and obviously Drew, he could have lost to Lesnar. You know, Lesnar could have just, you know, like with Rollins the year before or whatever, Lesnar could have just literally came back, won the belt, and then we're having a part-time champion again. So it seems though, I think the turning point really, I say, has to have come during this rivalry, because I think if WWE, and by them, I mean Vince McMahon, if he had a shred, like an ounce of doubt in him that Drew wasn't the guy, he would have lost to Orton. He's done this before. He's done this with Bray a few years ago. He did it with even AJ and Cena coming back to win that whole weird transition of about 10 champions in 4 months or whatever. You know, he that's what Vince would do. He would have had Drew lose to Orton by now, but he's put him over twice. But it's just that third one where, you know, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that plants the doubt in my mind, is the fact that Orton's already lost twice, and as you say, Orton doesn't lose three matches in a row. He barely loses 2 in a row, but 3 in a row's.
Why do this match again if it wasn't for a purpose to get the title onto Orton? But then the other argument is, well, what other feud? Like, if you start a new title feud, can it really be in a Hell in a Cell? You know, it kind of it needs to be the end of a feud usually. But yeah, so can you really start? So maybe it's just that they thought, well, we can't build up a new challenger and put in a Hell in a Cell. It won't make sense. So I don't know. Nearly talked myself out of it there, but yeah.
They can't even really do like a no DQ thing, but they get the stipulate. Well, the last 2 years have ended in DQ in this scenario.
Yeah, listen.
And yeah, like there's not much. You know, you can't have a series where the babyface wins the first 2 and then the third's a DQ. Like it's really unprecedented. Oh my, they're going to listen to something. That's what they're going to do. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't fathom a way that it could exist that Orton doesn't win.
I mean, I understand, mate. Nia Jax will just come in and win.
I really don't want this to happen. But what if it was a double turn and Drew won by getting himself like disqualified and then puts Randy face? That way we can have maybe another match, but it would be in a different kind of setting purely because Drew would then be the heel.
Yes, I mean, I don't really know how you can get disqualified inside Hell in a Cell, but obviously we saw from last year with Seth and The Fiend that, you know, they don't always have completely clean finishes inside Hell in a Cell, but...
And they do make it up as they go along, like Bayley with a ref shirt.
Yeah, like we'll see what they come up with anyway. And you, speaking of Bayley, actually segues nicely into the final match, as WWE have it listed on their website, and that is the SmackDown Women's Championship being defended, I believe, for the very first time inside Hell in a Cell, and that is between Bayley and Sasha Banks. Although Bayley's not technically signed the contract yet, so it's going to be Sasha Banks versus vacant, essentially, at the moment. So, so who are we going for to walk out with the SmackDown Women's title?
I find this the hardest one to predict because I just haven't got a clue where they're going, because it doesn't feel like on one hand, it feels like, like we spoke about, Hell in a Cell, it's the finality of a feud and whatever else. But then you think, this has gone on for so long, but it hasn't as well, because they haven't had a match yet. Do you know what I mean? Well, they had that weird one on SmackDown, didn't they, a little while ago that didn't actually work out, but that was annoying that they even flirted with that. But so surely they're going to go 2 or 3 with this, because it's been building up for so long to just do it in one blow-off pay-per-view. And again, we've alluded to it so many times about whether or not they're going to hold out for fans or bigger pay-per-views like the Rumble or whatever else. So surely it makes sense to continue it. And have the first one have Bayley keep the title so that Sasha's got a reason to chase. But it's tough. It's tough because it feels like if Sasha doesn't do it now, then it's almost like she loses a bit of credibility, because she's already been the kind of like turned on one. She's already been the one that needs to kind of get that shine back, you know, and get a revenge. So if she doesn't, I don't know, it feels like it just pushes her further away. It's a weird scenario, you know, because it is such a long feud, but it's not. It's such a fresh feud, and it's such a final kind of place to do it in Hell in a Cell, but it's also kind of not, because, you know, if you stretch out that little bit further, and like I said earlier, you know, Ray and Seth, that's gone on for, 4 or 5 months now. So surely this could stretch to Survivor Series. And then what? Then you got TLC in December, and then you might as well be pushing to the Rumble. And hey, if it's Rumble, you're in WrestleMania season, so who knows how far it can go. And like when we were talking about that a few months back, it was like, they can't hold off till Mania, you know. But I feel like they've sensibly pulled the trigger later than they probably were gonna originally, and now they might actually be able to stretch it that much further. So because of that, Bayley's keeping the title.
I think from what you were saying though, like the whole thing about eking it out to the Rumble, I think they really missed the trick with it, because what they could have done was move one of them over to Raw, and then it would have kept them apart until and then it meant that say it was Sasha that was drafted to Raw, it would have meant then that Sasha had to win the Rumble as the only opportunity she was going to get to face Bayley for that title again. But yeah, I mean, I'll give mine at the end anyway, but yeah, just wanted to throw my 2 pence worth in there.
See, I don't know. I don't think with non kind of marquee / non like main event kind of talent, I don't think if they think that way about, okay, Mania and big pay-per-views, I think they just think of, okay, we need matches for the ones monthly. You know, I think obviously like, you know, The Rock and Roman, yeah, that's probably been talked about, and they probably got everything sorted because it's The Rock, like, you know, and probably with Orton and Edge, they're going to decide, okay, we're going to do a third one at Mania. But I don't know if they would extend that same thing to the SmackDown Women's Championship, especially when, you know, give it credit. not to discredit from it too much, especially when like they put so much focus on Becky and the Raw Women's Championship for so long, and this one kind of had just happened as a result, really, of Becky and Charlotte both obviously being out of action.
Mm.
I think that Sasha's winning. I think Sasha will win, but I think Bayley will win it right back. I think they might use Survivor Series. This is what they could use Survivor Series in a bit of a different way this year, because I know there's talks about will they not have the
Brand Warfare
5 and Brand Warfare stuff, but they could use Survivor Series as a way of doing a shift here, where you could have a multi-woman match of some kind, like Bayley, Sasha,
like
and
Team Bayley versus Team Sasha or something.
Yeah, something like that. Or they could, like I said, they could have like a triple threat match for Bayley to pin the other person, and then you have a situation where she's won this match, she did win, but she's gone on, she lost the belt, and you can start building it back up again. Obviously, post Survivor Series, perhaps through Rumble or to the Mania. Or we could be completely wrong, and if Orton loses a third time in a row, we could just be seeing Sasha Banks just perhaps, the champ for a few months and beating Bayley a couple of times. But it's very odd placing here. Because I was leaning, because the thing is, I don't want to. The only other thing I'm thinking of is because they did it with the whole Bayley as ref thing, and they had Asuka lose by count out. Is this the one they're going to do the DQ in? Like the crappy finish, maybe?
Yeah, and especially if there's three of them, you can kind of get away with it a bit more. If there's 3 cell matches, then maybe...
I think especially because they've had one being an I Quit match, so that they've kind of said to us there is going to be a definite winner of that one. Yeah. And then, the WWE Championship, maybe, again, the heat last year and the year before was on the fact that it was a World Championship match. So it is a Vince McMahon thinking process of just like, oh, they only hate when the World Champion does that. They don't care about the Women's Championship. Because it's weird, because they're pulling like Scott said, they're pulling the trigger very early, but also it's still very fresh because their actual feud has been since the chair shot. Mere weeks ago now. The actual kind of we're now going to gear up for a match has only been since then. Even though it has been this lovely year, to be fair, of it. But yeah, I'm going to go, because it's like, maybe I want the bonus points if I'll be kicking myself if they do a DQ in this, because I do think that it would be the one out of the 3 that would. But because I'm just gonna go Sasha. Final answer.
Don't
to
want
Chris.
to find a friend.
No, finding a friend.
That's what this is, ain't it?
Sasha. Sasha, final answer.
Yeah, I agree, Lucas. I mean, with the Sasha thing, it's really hard to call. As you said, as Scott said, this is probably the hardest one to call, because it's still relatively fresh, but at the same time, it feels like it's been dragging. It has been dragging for like a year or something at least. But I think if Bayley wins, then the only thing that they can go on with this feud was that she attacked her. But then that's it. If Bayley wins, she's got the upper hand. So the only way for this to work, in my opinion, would be Sasha win. If Bayley was to win it back, then there's a reason for Sasha to then go against her again. But if Sasha doesn't win, she's not gained out of it. She gets attacked, then loses. She has unless they move her to Raw after that, that's it, and then goes from Rumble. And that's the only way it'll work. But I can see this going to TLC and Sasha officially winning at TLC, and the rivalry is done then. Maybe start, if they want to continue it, then obviously Bayley wins Rumble. But I think 100% is going to be Sasha.
It's tough, because from here, when you think about it, they've got, obviously this is a gimmick pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell. Then they've got a gimmick thing next month for Survivor Series, Brand Warfare or whatever it's going to be next month. Then they've got TLC, another gimmick. Then they've got the Rumble, another gimmick. Then they've got the Chamber. So they've literally got all these gimmick ones that all kind of allotted together. Whereas obviously middle part of the year, when we had SummerSlam, Payback, they were the normal pay-per-views.
Yeah, it's the best time to do stories then, yeah.
Even like Backlash, but it's hard because it's like every match every pay-per-view now has to feature these special matches. You know, until and then WrestleMania obviously is the big one for next year. And so it's like, in a way, are they going to be kind of forced into having to do something at one of these? Because obviously, like I say, like if Bayley and Sasha do have a match at Survivor Series, fair enough. Yeah, they could obviously have another women's match, obviously, but it would feel that that's the main feud. Like, why wouldn't that be part of the Survivor Series rules of what's meant to happen? You know, and then at TLC, like they're gonna have to have some sort of TLC version of that match. You can't just have them have a normal match and then do the DQ there. The same thing at the Rumble. Match. Yeah. Saying that's where, you know, this would make better sense. For this to be a chairs match and then build up to a Hell in a Cell, but they can't do that because of silly calendar.
Yeah. So if Sasha doesn't win, which is obviously my pick, I'm also a bit thinking like, well, then what? Why would she go again? So that's what's made me think, oh yeah, maybe Sasha will win, because if she doesn't win, then why would she get another chance? Unless Bayley does something dodgy, or it is a double DQ or whatever, you know, some sort of draw. But yeah, I feel it's weird because I feel like I'm losing points either way here, because like I've basically chose the 3 bad guys, and I don't think that's going to happen on the 3 cell matches and the 3 world title matches. The bad guys are going to win all of them. So, now I'm thinking, which one do I change? Because I can't. You see, I'm dropping points. I feel like I'm dropping points. You know.
I've got another option as well now. So, what if Sasha wins, but Bayley does something after the match? Like, I don't think they do like a helmet throw off the cell, but it's just something that's really, really, really bad. And now Sasha's injured, and the belt goes back to Bayley, keeps Sasha off TV. Then you got the Rumble. Then you got Mania.
You have the return. I mean, that's
so
what they should
still
do.
have Sasha win.
Yeah.
And she win just to literally get that win. And
but Sasha's just been injured, hasn't she? She's only just come back from injury. So can they do that twice?
Stupid how quick she came back from that.
Came back off. I've had quicker shits. Like it was. She came back so fast. It was ridiculous.
It was like leave her off for like a few months.
Yeah.
That
that's
would have
it.
been the
It's the
perfect
cell,
time.
isn't it?
Then,
it's the cell. They needed the cell match. It feels like.
But there was.
What does that mean?
To be fair, there's nothing stopping them. Like we saw, they did it with Shane and Taker a few years ago, when they do like a cell match at WrestleMania. So they could have been like, okay, so we were meant to face off in Hell in a Cell, but Sasha was injured, so we'll just do Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania.
I do think it was probably meant to be SummerSlam the first one, Clash the next one, and Hell in a Cell was going to be the finish. I really do think that's what they were originally going to do.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't SummerSlam in Sasha's hometown.
Yeah, Boston as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that would have been Bayley winning that then, because the hometown curse, isn't it? So.
Probably, yeah.
So looks like it's down to me now. So I am going to. It is really like you guys have said, like already. It's so tough because it is literally like the flip of a coin. It's like, you know, there's pros and cons for both of them to come out of it, like with the win. And, you know, much like looking at the Drew and Orton thing, it's like, who is there to realistically like challenge? So if we're saying Sasha is going to win, then heel-wise, you'd think obviously Bayley's still there. Then you'd have Carmella, Zelina Vega, Tamina, pretty much. Whereas if Bayley wins, although she'll still have the Sasha thing, if they do an injury angle where Sasha's not there, then it would be Bianca Belair, Natalya.
I'd like to see Bianca Belair, but I don't think they're going to use her that way just yet.
But, I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, that it does seem like there's a really like small women's division on SmackDown. So I don't see them writing Sasha off, because I feel like they've still got legs left in this feud. But we have seen WWE do love first time evers. I think Sasha is going to get her first major like singles title victory on pay-per-view inside Hell in a Cell against Bayley, and that is my pick.
But what if
No.
Remember NXT?
And no,
Remember
Otis
all
is
those
not
months
going to
ago?
cash in, Lucas. He's not going to cash in, okay?
Remember NXT? It is, and Triple H said that it was storytelling while Charlotte lost that
Oh,
match.
this is
Is
it.
Charlotte going to come in this match
She's on
and
Raw.
make it a triple threat match?
This is
Win
it.
them both.
They've got to pay off at some point, man. We always say it.
She's on Raw
It's
apparently
coming.
as well.
There's a storyline.
She's where she wants to be, mate. She's where they want her to be, actually. Like, she'll shut wherever.
So I thought we'd end on a little
No, it's going to be Stephanie, isn't it? She's going to insert herself into the match and just go in and win.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, so as I say, I think Sasha's going to win it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know really what else they're going to do on the show because there's not really, like, obviously with the draft and stuff being so soon before like the pay-per-view kind of thing. I've probably got that worded all wrong, but
I kind of get what you're saying, though. Yeah.
yeah, with the draft happening so close, there we go.
With
the draft happening so close to the pay-per-view, I just feel like they've not really had that much time to build many feuds, essentially to a feud-ending stipulation. If they are going to do everything.
The draft, I mean, talk about this, I guess, when we get to Survivor Series, just in case they do brand warfare stuff, because I've got a lot of opinions on this.
Is that just people rocking up in like red t-shirts,
Oh,
blue
don't,
t-shirts,
yeah. If you've heard the previous
T-shirts.
Talking Beans, on Talking Beans, every Survivor Series I seem to get angrier. So, yeah, well, I'll leave that to Survivor Series.
Do you think,
but,
do you think it's just like AJ just, I'm running out of red t-shirts. Oh, Survivor Series is coming up. I'm going to get myself a nice shiny red t-shirt now.
Unless you're Brock Lesnar or The Undertaker, then there's only two exceptions they've had.
Or Triple H when he just wore the red one, but it was his own top rather than the
Yeah.
blue one. It's like, yeah, screw you guys.
got to make that merch money, baby.
But yeah, this is an example though. Same with the draft, Survivor Series, and sometimes around WrestleMania a little bit. But they seem just to be like only the draft mattered, and they forgot about everything else. And same thing with Survivor Series. Everything else gets dropped because you got to wear a colour t-shirt for a few weeks. And those people that you hate on your brand, well, sod's law, because you now got a team with them and do this brand warfare stuff. And it's the weakest part of some of their builds that they do, and something which I don't know why they keep doing it year in, year out, because you can and you need to find a way to be able to build both. Build yourself. That's why I liked the year when Brock faced Ray. Was that last year? I think it was last year.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Cain Velasquez was involved, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, that feels like years ago now.
Wow.
Sorry. It was last year, 2019, if people remember that. But I like
Good old
that.
days.
At least they built something up other than just survivors, and it was nothing to do with brand warfare. It was just Brock Lesnar being an asshole and beating up Dominic and having a feud that way. And I hope they do that this year too, whatever they do with the brand warfare stuff. And yeah, don't worry, Scott. I think we're on the same page with some of this stuff. I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to bite my lip for now, but bite my tongue. I'm biting something. I don't know. I'm that angry.
So basically, we're going to have to settle in for like a rocky ride for Survivor Series.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that one.
Rob, me and Rob might as well just sit with our mics on mute then, and just sit back and watch it and watch it play out.
I'll just see if I can half and half my mask a bit, just for Scott's benefit.
Please do. Yeah.
With a big like yellow N in the middle or something. NXT.
Got all three now.
So yeah, there we go. That's pretty much it, I think, for Hell in a Cell, guys. Like, sorry, we can't predict anything else, and there's not really much chance of many changes because obviously there's only 3 matches announced so far. So, and obviously we want this to go up before Survivor Series, so we have to do this now.
As quick as possible, yeah.
There's still there's still going to be a couple of WWE shows before then, but. I can't really see too much being added.
At least we've got the important ones. No matter what.
Yeah, we've got the main three, and and I don't even like. I always tend to try and do these in like a way where, like, I try and predict myself what way I think the card's gonna like go. But these, I think they're all 3 of them. They're all 3 matches. Like, one of them will definitely open the show, and one of them will definitely close the show. But I couldn't say which one's going to close the show. It's tough.
I want the women's to close.
I think the women's one should close because it's had the most like build, and I think it's like it warrants.
It always depends on the decisions, though, don't it? It's, you know, which one's going to be the babyface leaving? If you go by my predictions, none. So that don't make sense. But somewhere, I know I'm wrong somewhere. A babyface has got to be leaving with the title. So surely that one's going to last.
Technically, Sasha's the babyface in this feud.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what as well. If they do, then they could do that thing. You know, when all of a sudden they've got cannons ready and the blue confetti and all that. That'll be her first SmackDown title. You know, it warrants her having them main eventing for that reason alone. So her getting the win would be great. I just want to see like blue confetti. That'd be great.
Let's hope there's no red cell.
No red cell.
Oh, that cell is awful. It just makes it look cheap and weak. But anyway. So yeah, anyway, there we have it. That was the Hell in a Cell 2020 predictions. And don't forget, you guys, well, actually, I've got an announcement to make. So you may remember on the last show, I said that I wasn't actually going to be around for the results. Well, luck, guys. Actually, I'm going to be around now. So there we go. You are gonna, sorry about that. Sorry to disappoint.
We're going to run the asylum for an episode.
You are going to have to, yeah. Someone, see, I'm in pretty much what looks like a referee's jersey as it is, so someone has to officiate over you guys. Right. So, so there we go. That's it, guys. That is our Hell in a Cell predictions. Don't forget, you can check out everything that we do over at rebnoise.com, at YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So that's it, guys. We will see you for the Hell in a Cell recap and review just after Hell in a Cell. And let us know in the comments below whether you agree with what we have said on this video. Keep checking back. See you soon.
And we'll see you soon, Dan. You're going to be there.
You will indeed.